fight?
No. You rise to the occasion. Experience comes with age, and I've been hearing a lot about age, you know.
We are now, and I finally get to check that off my list, and I knew this was going to be a big fight. The build-up for this is huge. The press conferences are entertaining. It's a spectacle.
With only 17 days remaining until the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul clash, the intensity is ramping up fast. Both fighters are deep into peak training, leaving nothing to chance. Joshua fine-tuning his power, timing, and footwork, while Jake Paul pushes through brutal conditioning to stay competitive. At this stage, every workout counts, and the pressure surrounding the fight grows heavier with each passing day.
I have nothing but love for him, but I'm going to knock him out respectfully, and you know, we can hug and kiss afterwards. Specifically kiss.
Anthony Joshua's training camp for his fight against Jake Paul is already in full motion, and this time it marks a major change in his approach. Joshua hasn't stepped into the ring since his knockout loss in September 2024, followed by elbow surgery, making this camp especially urgent and meaningful. Determined to return sharper, he has switched training camps and is now working closely with coaches from Alexander Usyk's team, focusing on conditioning, technical drills, footwork, and ring IQ. Joshua has openly admitted that the change has been significant. Training in a new environment has pushed him harder than ever, both physically and mentally. This camp is about rebuilding, restoring confidence, refining his strengths, and preparing seriously for what could be a high-stakes comeback moment in his career. His daily routine reflects that commitment. Joshua starts his mornings with intense ice baths, using cold therapy to speed up recovery, reduce inflammation, and keep his muscles fresh. He believes a freezing session strengthen his mental toughness and sharpen his focus, setting the tone for demanding workouts later in the day. It's a disciplined, no-excuses routine that shows just how seriously he's taking the challenge ahead. Anthony Joshua has fully immersed himself in a training environment built on discipline, precision, and constant refinement. Working alongside seasoned coaches known for their emphasis on sharp technique and strategic awareness, he approaches every session with clear intent. His drills are designed to tighten his offensive burst while developing a defense that reacts instantly and instinctively throughout camp. Coaches closely track his rhythm, foot placement, and punch variation, pushing him to break old habits and evolve his style. Ringside observers note how seriously he takes each correction, responding with focus and purpose. Rather than leaning solely on raw power, Joshua is sharpening his understanding of angles, distance, and counterpunching. His movement has grown more deliberate, smoothly blending defensive slips with crisp counter combinations. This demanding camp is challenging him on every level, driving growth not only in his physical conditioning but also in his mental sharpness, refining the instincts needed to handle the unpredictable moments that define heavyweight boxing.
I think he's at that stage of his career where he's trying to rediscover a little bit of that confidence. He's gone to Alexander Usyk, where we're hearing reports he's out there training with Usyk and the team, trying to pick up something, trying to rediscover something.
That's very strange, Paul, isn't it?
It is, but it's not unheard of. I've heard of a lot of fighters doing that. You see fighters, obviously, it's the old Rocky movies years ago, but you see a fighter losing to someone, all of a sudden they go in the camp and they start training and do a little bits together and become friends or whatever else. I think it'll do Joshua no harm travelling, but as you say, he's a little bit long in the tooth and he's a bit on the back nine rather than the front nine, where that experience would really come into play. But I'm just looking at his record here. He obviously, after the Usyk fight, he'd come back and he had 3 fights and then the Ngannou demolition
Well, yeah,
job.
Jermaine Franklin, he had Robert Helene, yes, he had Otto Wallin, and he smashed Ngannou, which everyone went hallelujah for, right?
Yeah, but he's obviously not in like the BoxRec rankings to see where he is. But the Dubois fight is a fight where, what you've just said then, Spencer, like, match him right. I felt he was match right with Dubois. That's just my opinion. Obviously, I was wrong on that and I was proved wrong, but I felt like Joshua would have and should have came through that, but he obviously didn't. So therefore, it's back to the drawing board, and where do you go from there? What do you do from there? Does he keep the same team around him? Does he go and find someone new and try and adapt and add to his repertoire already? And this move with Usyk. I don't know what it'll be, but if he's fighting before Christmas, then he needs to get in shape quick because there's only 8 weeks to go, let's say.
Well, my understanding, he's in camp, he's in shape, and just looking to get an out and get back to winning ways is my understanding. That's why they're talking about 8 rounders. Yeah. He wants to sort of go under the radar a little bit, and it's difficult for someone like Anthony Joshua because he's such
Very
a
much so.
commercial commodity.
He's always been in shape all the time, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He always will be in shape. He's never, ever not been.
But it's not about his
dedicated.
physical shape, is it? No one's ever questioned his physical state. Zach, when I was talking about Anthony Joshua, and I know that the president of his fan club is here in Spencer, but I talked about the PTSD issue post various fights, whether it be the Alexander Usyk or the Daniel Dubois situation. But prior to Daniel Dubois, I always maintained that I felt that despite the performance against Jermaine Franklin, despite the performance against Robert Helenius, which had been blasted out by Deontay
Anthony Joshua has fully immersed himself in a training environment built on discipline, precision, and constant refinement. Working alongside seasoned coaches known for their emphasis on sharp technique and strategic awareness, he approaches every session with clear intent. His drills are designed to tighten his offensive burst while developing a defense that reacts instantly and instinctively throughout camp. Coaches closely track his rhythm, foot placement, and punch variation, pushing him to break old habits and evolve his style. Ringside observers note how seriously he takes each correction, responding with focus and purpose. Rather than leaning solely on raw power, Joshua is sharpening his understanding of angles, distance, and counterpunching. His movement has grown more deliberate, smoothly blending defensive slips with crisp counter combinations. This demanding camp is challenging him on every level, driving growth not only in his physical conditioning but also in his mental sharpness, refining the instincts needed to handle the unpredictable moments that define heavyweight boxing.
Was saying that you and AJ must retire if Jake Paul wins on December 19th. Stand by that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I suppose so. Shit, yeah. Look, I don't see a world where Jake Paul wins this fight. I know that boxing's boxing. And I mean, what was it? Roy Jones came out this morning and said Jake Paul can win this fight.
Teddy Atlas as well.
Teddy Atlas? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, now I'm a bit worried. I won't retire. AJ should retire if he loses. No.
Sorry.
No, I see AJ winning this fight with ease, comprehensively, destructively, violently, and I don't see a world where Jake Paul is competitive in the fight, let alone win the fight. But luckily, AJ's not preparing in a way that he just thinks it's a joke. He's preparing for Jake Paul like he's a world title contender. Yes, it's been a little bit of a shorter camp. Yes, we've got to make weight this time around, but it doesn't matter. We should just slide through this guy and bash him up and beat him up, and we should do it early doors.
Just lastly, you said as well that you told Nikisa that he was weighing 290 when you were negotiating. What impact did that have? Did you feel like they would have gone even lower if they knew he was weighing 265?
No, I mean, I don't think that when you're negotiating on a weight, there's not one promoter in the world that would tell the truth about what the weight of the fighter was, and Nikisa knows that anyway. So it wasn't like we were being clever, but they wanted him to come to 240. And it's just, don't forget, AJ's never made weight before. So all of a sudden, he's tried, he'd been in camp for, 2 or 3 weeks. And he's probably sitting at, 260, 265. And it's like, you got to make 245.
One key reason Joshua's confidence remains high is the quality of sparring partners he has brought into camp. Footage from training shows him exchanging heavy shots with elite-level heavyweights, each presenting a different challenge inside the ring. Jared Anderson, known for his explosive power and relentless pace, forces Joshua to stay defensively sharp at all times. Anderson punishes even the slightest hesitation, demanding full focus from the opening bell to the final seconds of every round. Frank Sanchez presents a completely different test with his smooth, technical style. His ability to move fluidly, slip punches, and stay perfectly balanced pushes Joshua to adapt on the fly. Against Sanchez, Joshua must think quickly, refine his footwork, and approach every exchange with calculated strategy. These sparring sessions go beyond physical conditioning. They place Joshua in situations that closely mirror elite-level competition, exposing him to pressure and complexity that Jake Paul has never experienced. The variety of styles is helping Joshua build a complete, adaptable approach, one rooted in timing, precision, and the ability to shift tactics instantly when the fight demands it.
Paul's being dwarfed by these way bigger heavyweights like Jared Anderson, Frank Sanchez, and Lawrence Okoli. Okoli is like 6'4.5", 6'5", and these guys are like 6'3", 6'4", probably. So Now Jake Paul is the one that's smaller. So first of all, I will give credit to Jake Paul. Clearly, he's a person who is taking his career seriously. These are quality sparring. I mean, a real boxer, because people say he's not a real boxer, but a real boxer would be using the same guys in their sparring camp. In fact, I just told you Joshua used Lawrence Okoli. I don't know if he sparred with Anderson or Frank Sanchez, but these are all regular ranked heavyweights. So credit to Jake Paul for that. And I mean, he's going to need it. Joshua is a different breed to, like, you know, a Mike Perry when it comes to boxing. Different frame, different size. In case you didn't believe me, right? Jake Paul, this is what MVP Promotions posted. So Jake Paul top sparring, right? Heavyweights. And here's some pictures of Joshua with Lawrence Okoli. And again, Joshua, a big dude, but you see Lawrence Okoli, and he probably was cruiserweight back then. I mean, I don't know exactly when this picture was taken, but he's only like an inch shorter than Anthony Joshua. And now, as he's moved up to the full heavyweight, he has filled out more. You see, he looks even bigger than when he was a cruiserweight. Now, I got to research it, but I want to say I thought Lawrence Okoli was...
Tony Jeff views Jake Paul's journey through the lens of someone who has closely watched his steady improvement over the years. He acknowledges that Jake entered boxing with very limited experience, but credits him for fully embracing the commitment required to become a competent fighter. Jeff highlights clear growth in Jake's fundamentals, especially his punch mechanics, sense of distance, and overall training discipline. He also praises Jake for surrounding himself with experienced coaches and consistently pushing beyond what most people expected from a newcomer. According to Jeff, those who claim Jake Paul hasn't changed simply haven't paid attention to how far he has progressed.
Older. Now, a problem for Anthony Joshua is his activity. He's only fought twice in 2 years, and one of them he got knocked out off Daniel Dubois. That was his last fight, and a lot of people say you can only judge a fighter's quality from their last fight. And then the fight before that was a win, but it was a win against Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, if you know, he was the UFC heavyweight who's not a real boxer, and he only had one fight before that boxing fight, what he lost as well. So that's his activity in boxing. Now, Jake Paul, on the other hand, looking at his box rec, he's had 6 fights since 2023, and one of them was against Mike Tyson. But we all seen what happened in that fight. Mike Tyson was well past his prime. Where Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, is, but I'm not going to say he's coming into his prime, because he had some great wins earlier on in his career before he lost to Usyk twice. And by the way, when he did lose to Usyk, the last one was a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. So now this fight is matched, and I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now, come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pounds versus 252 pounds. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Now, in the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights, and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really. It's better for Anthony Joshua, because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. Anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that on there? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off halfway through?